Right, everybody, welcome back to another Talks with Finthentic. We have with us today Valantis. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me here, guys.
Many of you have probably seen Valantis. Many of you have probably spoken with Valantis. He's been in the industry for a long time with GBE Brokers, which is a SISEC regulated liquidity provider offering liquidity globally. And we wanted to invite Valantis here to this talk to discuss about some points that I believe will offer value, be it to traders, be it to established brokers, or to startup brokers. It's an infinitely interesting topic, and obviously liquidity is extremely important if you're in the business of owning your own brokerage.
Having said that, Valantis, we sat down recently at the IFX Expo. I hope you had a successful one, as it was for all of us. And we had some important, let's say, points that we wanted to point out. And one of them was the proper infrastructure of a broker. I understand it's a very vague question. However, from a liquidity provider perspective, forget about the connectivities of the bridges and etc. As a liquidity provider, what would you think is a proper infrastructure for a broker?
Yes, we had many talks during the expo. The expo was a nice expo. Cyprus continues to be the main hub of the FX industry.
Sure, yeah.
And I'm happy to see that and keep going on that level. Now, from a risk management perspective, I would say it's the most important stuff to have the infrastructure from the bottom. The infrastructure, a broker should consider it as the foundation of everything.
Of their business, really.
Exactly. If you don't build on proper foundation, then it will collapse eventually.
Yeah.
It will come and bite you back. So I will say building an infrastructure will be if you don't have the expertise, I will say outsource to people that have been for a long time in the industry, assess them, take opinions, do your studies of who is best at what, do your pros and cons. Infrastructure is the number one when it comes to bridges, platforms, liquidity on all aspects, compliance, regulatory, everything. Because risk, you cannot see as one thing. It's all the components mixing together.
They need to work together for you to be able to successfully analyze your risk and know what's going on, for sure.
Of course, because for example, if your CRM is down, or your CRM, then you're bridging data protection, or someone is hacking into your CRM, then the regulator will come against you for data protection. So if your platform is down, then your reputation is ruined. If your spreads are not good, then you will lose your business. So it's a common, everything is coming together.
I think, Valantis, you brought up an interesting point that is becoming more and more important on this topic. If we can expand a bit about security.
Yes. Security, I would say, is in my top two when it comes to risk management, because nowadays the most successful business, let's say, is hacking, blackmailing people on all aspects, on platforms, on accounts, on everything. So I will say cyber security and system security is very, very, very important. Attacks here, attacks there, trying to bring you down, trying to steal money, blackmail you. Yes, and we are living in a world where technology that is advancing so fast, it's very hard to keep up with it. But that's when the key people come in and the key companies to assist you with that and having the right partners along the way in order to be able to defend yourself.
100%. So I think the next question that's a good one, which Andreas and I see all the time when clients come to us, is common broker mistakes when they're setting up their brokerage and also when they're assessing and managing risk.
Yes, I mean, brokers, they are the common mistake to start from the front and then go to the back, is that they're getting comfortable. happy days, they're making money, the brokerage is running good, then they're getting comfortable, and that's when the risk will turn around and bite you, when you're getting the most comfortable. The second important thing is not finding the right people for the right job. So I want to have the top compliance guy, I want to have the top IT guy, I want to have the top, or that they have the knowledge to do this. The second thing, again, is the infrastructure. Having a good infrastructure, being careful, being able to assess risk also, on to put some numbers to it on the monetary side. So always know and always learn from the past and past events. So for example, Black Swan event.
Yeah.
Nobody was predicting it, but we had events in the past that we knew that something like that might
It's like
happen.
every few years we have some.
Exactly.
Big
So
happening,
Black Swan, a war might break out, like Russian-Ukraine war. Okay, there was an effect, but not to the extent of Black Swan. But always keep in mind, what do I have in my house, and how can that be brought down?
Yeah.
That's my view.
You touched something really important, which is complacency. And due to recent events, what's happening in the world, we can see that most of the governments have been complacent, and we can see that from the monetary policies that they're implementing now in the market. When it comes to a broker, complacency, I strongly believe it's very important. But the thing is, how can a broker can trust an employee? Let's say when it comes to operations and dealing, for example, what would you say that it's any factor that can have for the broker there?
Okay, there again, the staff members is very important, and it's extremely important that we are in the CFD industry. However, the people that are in these key positions must understand the background of the underlying securities we're offering. We have seen, for example, during COVID, oil went into negative. It was the first time in history where they actually paid you to receive oil. And I'm telling you, many people couldn't understand why. So it's important, or you're offering the DAX, the Dow Jones, you must understand
Volatile instruments.
how volatility comes into place on the actual futures markets, how the contracts work, and what is the liquidity behind, how liquid these products are. So you don't allow, for example, your clients to trade, and then you can get yourself into positions where you cannot get out due to illiquid times or something happens. You must understand each product and the risk behind each product and the market of each product. Oil is a different market. Gold is a different market. DAX, Dow Jones, currencies. We had also some events in platinum and palladium.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yes,
Palladium.
where people got into positions where sometimes they were not being able to get out. Touching on governments, what happened during the events with the Turkish lira? Some brokers stopped even streaming Turkish lira when they increased their interest rate so high, and everybody was unsure of what's going to happen. So you need to have the right people that understand the markets in order to mitigate your risks. That's my view.
Sometimes we often see, startups that approach us, and they have good people, but especially when you leave Cyprus, right? If you go to, let's say, jurisdictions where it's not as mature, the market's not as mature, perhaps they cannot find dealers that are experienced, and they have an IT guy who, you need that guy, but this is not the person that's going to operate your bridge, do your risk management, and operate the back end of the platform.
Yes. Thank you for touching onto that. This is a very good point, Alex. I mean, many people think dealers are ITs.
Yes.
No, they're not. It's two different jobs. Take the right people for your IT platform infrastructure, and take your financial educated people for your risk and running your books and A book and B book or whatever you want. In the dealing room, dealing and IT is two different things. and people must realize that. And this is where you guys also come into place. And
this is predominantly what we do.
correct, because to know the infrastructures and the bridges and how to manage them, you need, for me, more experience as to sit down and read everything, because this is where you guys come in, and then you can help the broker to focus his time on bringing and managing his risks and his clients, and you guys
establishing the brand, getting more regulation, onboarding with better banking partners, and
exactly, and let the professionals handle the infrastructure and the connectivities and everything.
And what I think most of the founders and people that have brokerages, let's say, they need to understand that a dealer or operations can change your business model in an instant. For example, something I want to touch base is there's straight through processing and warehouse market making. But what's your point? Let's stand by on that, for example. What do you think should be a proper business model for a broker?
I mean, the owners first need to understand how much capital they have. They must understand their client base. And then based on that, they should decide, shall we do... For me, first of all, a broker should be based on having both licenses. If you want to enter this industry, put the capital down, what is needed. Because when it comes, let's say you decide to go just e-book. Okay, then you're growing slowly, and then you are deciding, let's do some e-book. Until you get the licenses and things and approvals and so on, then you might miss some opportunities there. So on the other side, when you're doing e-book and you don't have the proper infrastructure, the proper connection with LPs that they will accept the flow that you will want to e-book at one point, then you might have losses that you don't
recovery won't be
correct, that you have problems with. So the proper setup for me is a hybrid setup. Have both, disclose it to the clients. I mean, this is public information.
Transparency.
Exactly, transparency is very important. And then you will be, like, again, touching to the foundation. You have the foundation and the flexibility to manage your risk, but also bring your business forward. That's my view.
All of the options. On that, as we got into STP and warehousing, A-book, B-book, we fully agree with you, by the way, that the best position you can be in is to be a hybrid broker. And even if you're predominantly B-book heavy, you need to be ready and able to offset risk immediately. Don't wait until there's a black swan.
Of course.
Like you said. Tell us a little bit about how the flow is these days. We had COVID, suddenly everybody was doing apparently record volumes, record deposits. Tell us the facts from an LP side, and what do you see today?
Yes, I mean, we have seen after COVID, I will say during COVID, the volumes were still there. During the last quarter of 2022, beginning of 2023, the volumes have dropped, mainly also the Russian-Ukraine war, the interest rates that increased. Then people got a little bit more scared, I would say. And if someone had some extra money that he was willing to invest and try his luck, let's say, in our industry, then they were having second thoughts about it. But nevertheless, we have seen during the second quarter of 2023, moving to now, volumes started picking up again. Yes. However, what I will say, the last 2-3 years, what I'm seeing now is that, talking again from a risk perspective, a more concentration risk. So the market has moved towards gold and Dow Jones, where it was in the past predominantly the majors and some gold and some indices. But the market has moved more into gold and more into indices. So I joke around, we're not FX brokers anymore, we are indices and gold brokers, So But nevertheless, this is where people need to take care and have this in mind. Also on the broker side, to have many connections in order to avoid, because if you're offloading your risk to one LP, then you don't know how much risk this LP is running. So use 2-3 LPs, because touching base again on the Black Swan events, the B book was not the problem. The problem was the A book.
Yeah, the counterparty risk of that counterparty.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So diversify is the number one
And you
protocol for
won't
risk.
often hear this from a liquidity provider, right? I think a lot of people would expect to say, "Oh, just send all the flow to me," but I absolutely agree with you that you have to have multiple accounts, multiple liquidity providers. It is a business of risk, and risk is the nature of risk is that it's literally changing tick for tick.
Second by second.
Yeah.
Yes, we are not, like you said, we're not the guys that say, send all of. We are looking to build relationships and partnerships. And this is where, if our partners are growing, then we are growing with them as well. And in order to grow, you must grow healthy. And this is very important for us.
I think a key point in what you're saying is being transparent with your LP and transparent also with the flow that you send to your LP. So this is something I want to touch base is regarding toxic flow. Every liquidity provider we have talked at the FX Expo has, let's say, many definitions of toxic flow. But based on your experience, what would you say is like toxic flow?
I mean, toxic, challenging flow. I mean, in every industry, people will find ways or look for ways and find ways to arbitrage the system or do some sketchy things. You can put a lot of names behind it, but I wouldn't identify it as toxic, but let's say taking advantage. One of the most recent things that we are seeing is swap-free accounts, for example. Interest rates have increased massively. People are asking for swap-free accounts.
They're at record highs in our lifetime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew that it was going to come at one point. We cannot stay at negative interest rates forever. But then offering a swap-free when the interest rates are negative,
Not
then
realistic.
it can happen.
Yeah.
But when the interest rates are so high, then you're seeing the client opening a position, holding it for 4 or 5 months, one direction. He doesn't care about the P&L, and he just keeps it running there while not getting charged swaps, for example.
So obviously there's some kind of abuse that's happening behind this if they don't care about the P&L.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you need to be able, again, having the right people to identify. You can put in our brackets tool like arbitrage, latency arbitrage, importance of data feeds being the ticks being correct and on time and getting the right feed into the clients. So there is many aspects to it. It's just that brokers need to be extremely careful, having the right people to identify it on time and not allowing these people, because when someone is looking to take advantage of this, then it's destroying the entire market.
Yeah.
Because some brokers want to accommodate this flow just to make a couple of dollars per million.
Yes.
And you cannot always think profit. And then you need to protect the market and the industry. And this is the main focus that we all have, because this is our industry, this is our baby at the end of the day. We all live from this, yeah?
Exactly.
We need to keep it healthy so we can all improve and move forward with it.
You cannot go, let's say you're trading gold, you cannot go to the COMEX exchange and say, I want to swap free account. It doesn't exist. It's not realistic. So therefore, something that both of you mentioned, and I like it, is transparency. So tell us about, in my opinion, this is something that's extremely important and not enough brokers take it seriously. They're not transparent with their liquidity provider. Let's talk about your relationship with your liquidity provider.
I would say is one of the most important, if not the most important thing, because the broker must not see the liquidity provider as he's trying to take advantage of him or he's stronger than him. He should see his liquidity provider as his partner to provide him the right condition to help his business grow. And transparency is the number one thing. You, as a broker, know your end client. And then you need to communicate this to your liquidity provider when your end client is having some challenges or he's complaining about something that, let's say, you don't have the expertise. I'm not saying you don't, but maybe some questions that go and speak to your liquidity provider, or the client wants some special conditions. Go speak to your liquidity provider and tell him, hey, I have this request from a client, or I have this challenge with a client. How can we fix things?
Speak with your LP. We've had that example. You see a trader that's clipping 20 lots on gold, and unless you come and you speak to your LP, how can we send this to the market more efficiently and lean on your expertise? Really, you're losing money if you don't discuss openly with your liquidity provider.
Of course, because first of all, as a broker, you need to know the market conditions at all times. When a client is coming and giving you a request which is not in the market conditions, because the market is the market. We all know the conditions. More or less, we're all there.
Yeah.
But when you're having some requests that are not making sense, let's say, then your LP must explain to you what is happening. And then you should give these conditions and try explaining the client what's going on. So your LP is your partner.
Liquidity partner instead of liquidity provider.
Exactly. Yeah. So look at the LP, be transparent with him so he can help you grow. This is the main purpose of the liquidity provider.
And that's something that has been missing in the industry for a couple of years, which you hit the nail in the head, to be honest. Transparency is very important. Communication with your liquidity provider is very important. I think about it like a therapist with a doctor type of, let's say, correlation. So I 100% agree. And we have seen it also with the brokers that we have been working with. But there are not many, let's say, brokers that are aware of the market conditions, believe it or not. So having a chat with your liquidity provider in a daily basis, I believe, can...
you become educated, you understand the market, you understand what you can give your clients, what you cannot give your clients.
Of course, because the liquidity can be also using 2-3 bridges. He can advise you on, hey, use this because it has these pros and cons. Use this, use that. I mean, the liquidity providers usually are longer time in the industry than the brokers. So he can, you can take info.
It's more difficult to become a liquidity provider, right? You need substantial backing, you need substantial knowledge, you need technical people, you need risk managers.
Correct. Far more experience of risk management.
And this is where I think we're doing a good job, is on our support side. Be there 24/7 for your partner to call you. Look at him at his wife. She can call you anytime she wants.
Live support, not a ticketing system, not...
Exactly. Be there and support from A to Z on every aspect.
I think it's a good place to end this conversation. We've dropped a lot of alpha for you guys if you wish to pick up on it and use it. Again, Valantis is very easy to find. He's at GBE. We're also easy to find. We're at Finthentic. Thank you all. See you on the next one.
Thank you.